Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter. Of course, you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Last night, I uploaded my post-fight review of Dimitri Bivol's fantastic victory over Zurdo Gilberto Ramirez. And initially, the video you're about to see in a moment was attached to that video. It was one long video, 23 minutes long, and I know what you guys are like these days, the TikTok culture. You guys haven't got the attention span nor the willingness to listen to me for 23 minutes long, and who can blame you? So I decided to split the videos and upload them as two separate parts. So the Bivol video is 13 minutes long. That should be short enough to be able to keep people's attention. And the undercard video, this video, is going to be an extra 10-11 minutes or so. So this is more for the hardcore fans. You know, I imagine that the majority of fans are not going to be interested in Rakhimov stopping Zelfa, Barrett, Galal Yafai, and the question of whether he genuinely beat Rodriguez in what I felt was a very contentious decision, and also Chantelle outboxing Jessica McCASKILL. So if you guys are one of the hardcores that are interested in listening to this video too, I look forward to your comments down below. Let's get cracking. Now let's quickly touch upon another few of the undercard fights. You guys know I'm not really 100% au fait with the women's game. I am learning about it, but I'm still, not that clued up. But what I can do is judge the fights that I'm seeing. And because they are recognizable names, I knew about Cameron and McCaskill. And I've seen McCaskill on commentary before, and I expected her, obviously, to be a very good fighter based on the things that I've heard about her in the past and stuff. To be honest with you, she looked very, very crude to me. Through the first 5 or 6 rounds, I thought she looked like somebody that was fighting like a cave woman. She was just swinging these wide hooks. It was like watching a pub room brawl. Now, it was obvious she had some physical attributes, but Cameron was just dancing around and picking her off. From the 7th round, though, I thought it was a much better round from McCaskill. She started to straighten up her shots, and instead of chasing, she started to sort of let Cameron come in, and she was timing her with that entry with these shortened shots. Rather than looking to take her head off with an individual shot, she's just landing a shot or two here or there, and it made her much more effective. So maybe McCaskill just had a very bad start to the fight, and maybe that's not the true reflection of who she is, and she is just, not always that crude and wild, and maybe she was just a little bit desperate. I don't know. But there's a lot of work there that needs to be done, and she just needs to sort of control herself a little bit more, I feel. And Cameron, from what I saw tonight, very good technical boxer, some good feet there. And yeah, that was a fight that, to be honest with you, I think, with all due respect to the women, well, I thought Cameron did very well. I can't undermine her in any way. But with all due respect to McCaskill, somebody told me she was an undisputed champion. I think maybe this is one of the issues that the female fight game's got. Perhaps a lack of depth. Because if you have the equivalent of what I saw tonight, and like I said, maybe she just had a long layoff, she was rusty, she was too desperate to try and land something big. I don't know. I don't want to judge her based on that one performance alone. But based on what I saw, if you had that equivalent in the men's game, you're talking about a guy who probably isn't going to do particularly well in this sport unless he's got some individual attribute like punch and power that's just off the charts. In terms of sheer ability, that wasn't great, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think probably that's one of the issues the women's game has got, that lack of depth. Now let's talk a little bit about Galal Yafai as well. We know that Eddie Hearn has said this is the best prospect in the entire sport. Eddie Hearn doing Eddie Hearn things. Listen, he's an Olympic gold medalist, and clearly they're moving him very quickly because he was up against a good fighter tonight on Rodriguez. So I'm not undermining Yafai. I'm sure he can work on certain things and become a really top fighter. He's a really good fighter. Some of the things he does remind me a little bit of Gary Antoine Russell. We'll save that for another future video in terms of the way he goes about his work and things like that. But he's a good fighter. However, personally, I felt he lost this fight. Rodriguez started off very quickly, and he was giving Galal Yafai a lot of problems in that first round by changing angles and punching off of that change of angle, that pivot. And because Galal Yafai had this high guard, by the time he turns with him and adjusts to throw the shot, he's getting caught on that turn. And he would be trying to throw this wide left hook, and he was being made to miss wildly. So the first round, I had to Rodriguez. The second round, again to Rodriguez. The third, I thought Galal actually won. Rodriguez's tempo dropped slightly. And the uppercut into the solar plexus was there for Rodriguez, though, because as Galal was coming in, just walking in, not working his way in, walking in behind that high guard, you could see that the short shots through the guard in terms of low shots to the body were there for Rodriguez, but the short shots from the high guard pushing through and stepping in from that high guard was also there for Yafai, almost like a Joe Joyce type of approach in some regards. But after that, I had Rodriguez going on a bit of a run of rounds. From being 2-1 up, I had him winning the next 4 rounds. And the pressure was incessant, and so was the stalking from Yafai. But listen, one of the things I'll say, one of the things I really back myself on, you'll never hear me be arrogant on this channel. You'll never hear me sit here and go, I do the best technical breakdowns or things like that. Obviously, I believe the quality of the content that I produce is very good, because if I didn't believe that, what is the point of having a channel? So if I was a viewer seeing my own content, I would enjoy it. If I didn't, what am I doing over here? But you'll never sit here and see me be arrogant in any way. I engage with everybody. I respect everybody's opinions. But there is one thing I will back myself on, and I do rate myself on. I've got a very good eye. I've got a bit of an eye of a hawk. It doesn't matter whether we're talking boxing or football. We'll be watching football and someone will say offside. I go, nope, it wasn't offside. And then they'll wait for the replay. They go, oh man, how did you spot that? That was so tight. I've got a very good eye at spotting little minute details. And a lot of the time, shots that are not landing, people are saying they're landing. And on many occasions, I've shown you guys videos in slow motion. For instance, that Golovkin-Canelo second fight, the 12th round, where a lot of people gave it to Canelo. And I broke it down for you as a preview to the Canelo-Golovkin 3 fight, and I was showing you in slow motion how Golovkin had so much success taking away what Canelo was landing or attempting to land in that round. I'm good at spotting these little things, and I promise you, there were a lot of shots that Yafai was throwing that were not landing flush. You would see that Rodriguez would change the level and duck down, and the uppercut was there for Yafai, but because he was so keen to rush in, smother his own work rather than feinting his way and taking half a step back and launching the uppercut, he would get in and try and throw these hooks, and they were whizzing over the back and the head of Rodriguez. And later on, the commentator actually said a lot of punches Yafai is throwing are landing on the back, because as he's dipping and turning and he's throwing a hook, they're landing on the back. They're not scoring shots. Whereas when he is changing the level, when he's down low, he was landing a lot of shots to Yafai's body. And because Yafai was just coming in behind that high guard, you saw that Rodriguez was just pumping out this consistent jab, and he was eating that jab. So he was getting jabbed up, trying to close the range, and when he was closing the range, often he was smothering his own work. There was another moment as well whereby you could see when he was getting close, he was literally trying to push Rodriguez off to create that separation and work from there, use a bit of head control. But there was some really cute work in there from Rodriguez, having a little roll after that just to change the angle again, and then hitting the body. And personally, I had Rodriguez winning the fight 7-3 in a 10-round fight. He got a split decision, Yafai, but I actually thought he was a very lucky boy. Let me know how you scored that fight, and what you think of Yafai going forward. A lot of people were saying to me, people that were agreeing with me with my scorecard were saying this is why Yafai is not going anywhere. I don't agree with that. Yafai is a very good fighter who has real potential. It's just that in this particular case, I felt he lost this fight. I'm not willing to write him off based on losing that one fight. Finally, let's talk about Zelfa, Barrett and Rakhimov. Zelfa Barrett started so well. He was changing the trajectory of his movement in the way he was moving around the ring, and he was very accurate with the hooks, and the uppercuts were absolutely beautiful. Rakhimov was trying to cut off the ring and come in low and then work his way up from low, and you saw this lovely whipping uppercut from Zelfa Barrett, and he was able to sting him on numerous occasions. And I had it go in 1-1 after 2 rounds because Rakhimov was also very good at cutting off the ring, and Zelfa's movement was very good. So it was a chess battle just watching them try and move and get position. It was really enjoyable stuff. And when he was pinning Barrett up on the ropes and opening up behind that backhand uppercut to the body, he was doing very well. But Zelfa's jab output fell a little bit in that second round. Nonetheless, in the third round, he landed a big uppercut and dropped him. In fact, he hurt him 3 times in 1 round. It was a massive round for Zelfa Barrett. And he started to box really, really well. He started to get caught as well. He was never out of sight. Rakhimov was continuing to try and get inside and really target the body and work from there. And one of the things you saw that became a problem for Zelfa as the fight wore on, you saw that Rakhimov would start to line him up with that backhand shoulder, and he would launch that left hand through the pipe. And because he'd lined him up, he'd always land when he'd open with it, when he'd lead with it, and then from there he'd shift to close the range or cut off the ring, and then he'd start to go to work from there. And I wanted to see Barrett really, I felt that he got caught between 2 styles. He either needed to be a more bladed stance whereby he's offering less of the body and he's focused solely on running essentially and just popping the jab out there to buy time and just pop the jab out there and outwork him in that way, or you've got to hold your feet properly and go for it if that's what you want to do. Once it became apparent, in other words, that you weren't going to sort of take him out early on, you've got a big lead at that point, or certainly in the judges' minds, when you're landing, you're affecting this guy. You've dropped him, you've hurt him 3 times in a round. Although you should only score it round by round, that could stand in the judge's mindset, right? Instead, he started, I felt, to be caught in between those two styles and move around without jabbing. So he'd be getting caught a lot when he's moving around because Rakhimov's able to just walk him down, and then sporadically hold his feet. Well, if you're sporadically going to hold your feet and throw big shots now and then, that, unless you hurt him with one of those big shots, it's not going to be enough. You're going to be getting outworked. And I felt that he started to get overtaken. He then got clipped in the 8th, and that seemed to affect him a little bit. Shout out to Jonan for pointing that out. And after that, you saw that he was a warrior, straight warrior. He went down swinging. Massive respect for Zelfa Barrett, and he's got all the tools to be really successful. He's a brilliant athlete, really good mover. He carries a bit of pop as well. Blue Collar Sports was saying, look, the problem I think with him is that he doesn't turn his shots over enough, so he can be a little bit slapping. That's true, but I think that enables speed. If he's going to turn over a shot, he's really going to sit on a shot. It slows down the shot somewhat. A lot of people find it a lot easier, a lot faster based on their biomechanics to almost throw in a slap. And so he marries the speed and the power for me fairly well. He's got agility. He's got all the tools. For me, the one area where he's really lacking is a clinch game. And that prevents him from being able to dictate the tempo. In other words, you're great when you're moving around the ring and you're looking good. When you're starting to tire or the guys come inside against you, you've got to be able to nullify him. You've got to be able to do the sort of things that Vladimir Klitschko was able to do, that Devin Haney's able to do. Take the fight away by just making it mundane, basically. So that's an area that he needs to work on. I felt sorry for him, to be honest with you. Very good from Rakhimov in the sense that he bit down on that gum shield and he kept coming forward. He is vulnerable though. You saw that he was vulnerable today, and because he comes low to work his way up, he's always going to be vulnerable to that uppercut. And so he was a bit of a warrior tonight as well. But I hope Zelfa Barrett is okay moving forward, and I hope he can work on a little bit of a clinch game as well, and just to be able to dictate the tempo a little bit better. I think that will help him massively in his career. Let me know what you think, ladies and gents, about all the things that we have spoken about. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless.